up, guys? It's time for another episode of Damien Ruins Horror Movies. I'm Damien, and tonight's movie is The Final Terror from 1983. But first, this video is brought to you by Cool Dude Inc. If you go down to the description and click on the notes, you can go make yourself look good. But before we get started, we're going to kick it off with the Whiskey Bat, so you can listen to on Spotify, Apple Music, and if you go to the description, there's a link to their YouTube channel. Let's go. This film was directed by Andrew Davis, who ironically would go on to direct, dare I say, blockbusters like The Fugitive, Holes, Collateral Damage, Above the Law, A Perfect Murder, Chain Reaction, Under Siege. I know, right? This film opens with a young couple on a motorbike, and they wipe out in a horrific accident. Lori and Jimmy, but Jimmy's hurt his leg, so Lori goes to look for some help. When she returns, Jimmy's gone. And then she finds him hanging upside down from a tree, and he dead. Then she turns around to make a run for it, and sets off a trap. The old soup can lid trap. What kind of Ewok bullshit is that? Elsewhere, Edgar, the self-appointed drill sergeant, who's actually just the bus driver, wakes up a group of young rangers, Nathaniel, Zurich, Marco, and Boone, to drive them to Mill Creek for some park ranger boot camp. Then we meet Mike, who's in charge, and this is actually just a ruse so that Mike can get a little alone time with his woman, Melanie, and to give his boys a little downtime and maybe give them a little time to hit it off with the three girls they pick up. Margaret, Vanessa, and Daryl Hannah. They hit the road and the sing-along begins. Fun fact, Mike went on to play the crazy dad / teacher in those old Twisted Sister videos. And then in the early 90s, he played the maestro on Seinfeld. The whole drive, Edgar warns them not to go. Don't go where I'm driving you!
Edgar, why don't you just drive the bus, all right?
I just warn you, somebody's gonna get hurt.
Fun fact, Edgar is played by Teddy from Memento. When they arrive at the drop-off, everybody picks on Edgar as they get situated. It's amazing how he can be both the harbinger and the red herring at the same time. Kind of overlooked, but Edgar stole 3 giant Costco-sized cans of peaches earlier in the film that Mike had to sign off for to get the lunch lady off his back. Once settled in, it's time for the obligatory campfire tales. Boone tells the story of a 14-year-old girl who was raped by her lumberjack uncle, then admitted into a mental institution where 19 years later her son would come and break her free and bring her to these exact woods. See, Alabama, this is what happens when you make abortion illegal, especially in cases of rape and incest. Now we got a killer on the loose.
What the hell are you telling stories like that for, huh, boy? What the hell are you doing out there? Huh? Scaring these girls half to death? You think that's funny? Huh? Cut your tongue out.
Later that night, Nathaniel and Zorich go on a marijuana hunt, leaving Marco to stand watch. In the morning, Marco is missing. See what happens when you make weed illegal? Now we're missing a ranger. Mike, Zorich, and Nathaniel go looking for him in the morning, but all they find is his red bandana. Then Mike pulls a Fred from Scooby-Doo and says, "You guys go that way, I'm gonna go this way," and he gets naked and hops in the creek where Melanie meets him. And they start humping right out in the open until that cock-blocking killer catches them. Zorich and Nathaniel keep searching until they come across some old shacks. The old shacks kind of remind me of the shacks from Wrong Turn. But they look around inside, they find a bunch of women's clothing, and they find those peaches. They find Edgar's hat, and Nathaniel finds his radio that he didn't know was missing. Edgar's been stealing shit, which I don't know when because they haven't even been there 24 hours yet. Then Nathaniel opens a cupboard and finds a severed dog head, so they get the hell out of there. But before they leave, Zorich finds a jar with magic mushrooms in it, so he snags it. Night falls and they make another fire. Now Marco, Mike, and Melanie are missing. Nathaniel and Zorich try to convince the others that Egger is behind it, telling them what he saw in the cabin. And Zorich makes a new rule. We stay in pairs. Nobody goes alone. Then he goes and takes first watch alone. Later, Margaret wakes up screaming. She feels a creature like touching her. The others wake up too, and Zorich comes running back. But it's too late. The creature is gone. And then Marco shows up. He's been alive this whole time. He comes back with like a branch of weed. So I don't know if he thought he was being funny, hiding out all day. I'm sure he doesn't realize he cost Mike and Melanie their lives. Vanessa goes to the outhouse alone, despite Zorich's orders. And she goes to take a piss, and when she looks down, she sees Mike's severed head. When Zorich runs over and sees it, he starts puking like a little bitch. He reminded me of Bobby from The Prey that I did a couple weeks ago. They regroup at the campfire, trying to devise a plan, but they're stranded, because wherever Egger is, whether he's behind this or not, he's their ride. In the morning, they camouflage up and they sneak back to the shack. Nathaniel breaks in first with a stick and a machete. And the good news is, Melanie's still alive. Bad news is, she's under the floorboards with a knife to her throat. They find a jar with a human hand in it and decide now's a good time to get the hell out of there. They grab an old air raft and head back to the River Creek thing. The creature follows them and watches them, until finally dropping Melanie's corpse on them. Well, at least now they don't have to keep looking for Melanie. There's nothing quite like closure to help you keep moving forward. They bury her and head back to the raft. Oh wait, weren't they planning to call the cops and now they're burying evidence? They find the bus, but there's no key, so they take refuge for the night. At least it's kind of a safe place for the most part. And Daryl Hannah finally lights up that joint she's been teasing for the past 10 scenes. And Zorich eats those shrooms, which this to me seems like a really bad time to get high. And who names their daughter Daryl? Her parents must have been huge Hall & Oates fans. They always wait to attack. Like if it's night, they want to wait till morning. If it's morning, they want to wait till night. Something always almost happens, but nothing really ever does. Cut 2. A fire burning by the main shack. It's Egger. And he looks like he's feeling remorse. Because he told them, he warned them the whole way not to go. Something bad was going to happen. He told them that the whole time he drove them there. The creature shows up and breaks one of the windows open with its pickaxe, and they all go running. There's 7 of these guys on one creature. Not one of them stuck around to see what they were up against. And now it's daylight as they continue to hike. And seemingly hike farther and farther away from the raft and the bus and hope. But apparently it's all part of the plan. The problem is Zorich starts freaking out because he's flying high on shrooms, and he starts having Nam flashbacks, which he's way too young to have ever been in Nam.
I was in Nam, man. What were you, a drummer boy? You must have been 10 years old.
Marco calls out Egger, and Egger shows up and throws a rope around his neck and starts choking him out, but that's part of the trap. It's a trap! And the others show up and start kicking the shit out of him. The creature kills Zorich, and then the creature, who actually is the 14-year-old victim who gave birth to Egger, sets off the Ranger's Ewok bullshit trap and gets impaled. The end. What in the holy hell? This turned out to be like the Apocalypse Now of the Park Rangers. 9 semi-main characters and only 3 deaths? I mean 7 if you count the unnecessary couple from the opening, and Egger and the creature. And I'm surprised they didn't remake this movie in the early 2000s, you know, that decade of remaking and explaining everything. Even though Boone's campfire story kind of explained the whole thing, hiding Egger in plain sight, it would have been a nice Texas Chainsaw Massacre twist if Boone was somehow in on it. Like he was Egger's half-brother or something. The Badass Award goes to Zorich, I guess. Even though he was a jackass and got killed. Whether the group liked it or not, he was kind of the glue that held them together. And now I'm going to introduce a new award, which I may have introduced when I did The Thing, I don't remember. But it's the brother that made it to the end award, Nathaniel, who was kind of Dennis's sidekick. What did we learn?
Survival tales.
Don't ride your motorbike in the woods. Don't fuck in the woods. Don't do shrooms if you know there's a killer after you. Dummy.
If you like this video, then you should hit that subscribe button and like it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this movie. I thought this movie was alright, but it was a little anticlimactic. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Until next time, I will see you later.